That's cool.
All right, just give me 1 second. I'm trying to make sure everyone can get in.
Yeah, sure. You just can show up a little bit.
Okay, let's see. Welcome everybody. Just give me 1 second to get everyone in class and I'll go ahead and start. Let's see, how do I turn on auto admit?
That's my headphone cord. Maybe it's
All right, guys, I guys we'll go ahead and get started. I wanted to give everyone a minute. Hello. Give everyone a minute to get connected. Feel free to enable your guys' webcams if you want. I might mute you guys from time to time if it becomes hard to focus. But sorry, I'm a little distracted because I have to like manage people joining the class as well. But I will do my best to not lose my mind. All right, there's the chat. Cool. Okay, so today I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible. Just get I want to answer you guys' questions and get into a lot of the course information. And I want you guys to get to know each other a little bit too, because there is a group project at some point throughout the semester. So at some point, I'm going to try to put you guys in breakout groups. I'm going to audible and kind of just decide to do that a little bit later. So I'm going to start with the course information first, which normally I don't do. And then we'll come back. I'll put you guys in some groups, just get to know each other a little bit, and just talk about Zoom for a little bit as well. So hopefully you guys can see my screen right now, which is like my presentation thing. But basically, if you ever want to ask questions in somewhat of an organized fashion, there is like a raise your hand feature, which like it depends on if you're using like an iPad or a computer, but it should have like the option somewhere on your settings menu to raise your hand. And I'll try to watch, but with 37 you guys, it might be hard to notice. Or you can always just enable your mic and ask a question, or like wave, because I have a lot of your guys' webcams up, but I might not notice because I've got 3 screens going on here. Anyways, uh, if you do have questions, please try to get my attention. Or you can also use the chat, which I'm trying to watch. So there's that's another easy way to ask me a question. Anyways, let's go ahead and just jump right into it as well. So let's start with the course information. So I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. That's stuff, I'll do that later. And to start off by talking a little bit about what problem solving is and like what the idea of this course is, because probably most of you haven't had this class before, and it's a little bit of a different course from your standard math class. But basically, the main goal is to learn how to solve problems, and that's a very vague goal, but basically to you learn different mathematical methods for solving more complex problems. And a lot of the types of problems we're going to be talking about in this class are not like your typical math, like algebra or calculus or whatever. Um, and it doesn't require you to have any um, like advanced math background, because pretty much the only math we're going to be using is basic arithmetic, but in some contexts it will be um, you know, applied, and it won't necessarily be easy either. um, and I think you'll find some of the stuff we cover in this class to be pretty interesting, some of it maybe not so much. But uh, I also wanted to get into, what is the content, just to kind of give you a little quick preview of what we're talking about. And I don't know if that's too small for you guys to see, but basically we're going to be working through the first 10 or so chapters of the book, which I'll talk about that later. The physical book is not mandatory. I know a couple of you have been messaging me about, do I need the actual textbook? But anyways, the book is kind of organized into sections. Part one is social choice. Part two, management science, and we're going to be covering some of those chapters. But we're going to start off with chapter one, which gets into the math behind elections, and kind of there's a lot of issues in our world that they're related to math that are not necessarily simple, um, as well as getting into power distributions, and apportionment. So, part one is very numerical. There's lots of numbers, lots of data, stuff that we're looking at. And then in part two, it's kind of shifting gears to working with graphs, not like your XY graphs that you usually work with in math, but what's called mathematical graph theory, getting into how we apply that to problems like street routing, touring, networking. And then we're going to finish up the semester with finance. So get into some very basic things, which some of you probably have had in other classes at Point Loma already. But um, one sec, let me put it. But let me do this so I can actually show you. But sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Anyways, but it's stuff that we don't often learn in like in high school math. Like in my perspective, I never really learned anything about finance, even in college. So just to sort of talk about some rudimentary things, and we're not going to get that complicated. But anyways, that's kind of the idea. And my approach through each of the chapters is going to be pretty much the same. So like I always try to start off the chapter with, what is the type of problem we're looking at in this chapter, because that's kind of how each chapter is organized. Kind of like look at the problem, kind of walk through what are the facets of the problem that make it difficult, and then actually focus on how do we solve it. And that's really the same approach as the book. Like they'll introduce it in the first section, and they'll kind of get into, so what are the terms that they're going to be using throughout the chapter? What type of math do we need? But also another thing, that I think is very important is like, why are we like applying these steps, and why do they make sense to the problem? And anyways, that's kind of how I'm going to work my approach. And also, I want to talk about how class is going to work too. So that's going to be, my next few slides. But usually it's in a normal class setting, and it's a little bit less awkward, because this is kind of awkward for me still. I'm not really used to the online thing. But I'm going to try to do the same approach which I would do in class time in videos. So how lectures are going to work is Zoom is always going to be optional. It's going to meet 3 days a week. It's like an opportunity to come together and have a little bit of community. So it's kind of up to you. But for this first day, I wanted everyone to kind of be here and to kind of just get used to the availability and having somewhere you can go if you need it. But all my lectures are going to be pre-uploaded on Canvas, and they kind of look like this over here, which like it's kind of organized in a similar fashion to the book, where it goes through each chapter. And I'll post videos which kind of are the lecture component of the course. So these are videos that a student asked me kind of as we switched to online last semester, are these optional or not? I would say no, but it's kind of like going to class, because I'm going to cover a lot of the same ideas that I would in class time in problem solving. So if you're not really watching the videos, or if you're skipping some of them, it was sort of like would be similar to not really going to class and getting my perspective. Though some of you might be able to learn a lot of the content just from reading the book and working on the homework problems or whatever. But it definitely will not be the same. But anyways, I've organized them in a fashion that, you know, if you can kind of do it every day, you won't have to spend a whole lot of time every day to sort of keep up with class, or you can kind of do an entire chapter at once. You know. Anyways, I have a whole schedule built that I'll bring up in a second. But also there are also slides that I use in my videos and packets, because usually in class what I'll do is I'll give all my students packets for each chapter, and those will also be available, which you can print out and use if you want, which is kind of like my recommended thing. But it's you know, it's something where you don't necessarily have to do that. But anyways, there are some resources which are there. And one thing I just wanted to stress is to not fall behind, since this is a 5-week course. uh, if you just like kind of goof off for 1 week, we'll probably have covered like a good chapter and a half. And you know, if you do kind of take a week off, I mean, it's summer, I understand that. But you know, just try to not fall behind, because it will be, you know, the pace is very fast, um, obviously as a 5-week class. So for Zoom, how we will be using it though, since basically class is going to be uploaded on videos, one of the obvious drawbacks of that is there's no opportunity to like raise your hand or, you know, ask me a question about whatever, you know, because sometimes I might not do a very good job explaining it, or I might, you know, skip over something that's not necessarily obvious. Probably not. I'm probably not doing it on purpose. Um, but basically, it's just another opportunity to come ask me questions. I'll be there every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, same time as today. And you know, I'm not really sure how many people will be in that session or will want to use it, but it is an option. Um, and if you do come, you'll get there's a participation component of the grade. If you come a few times, you'll just get that participation credit that way. There's also a discussion board, which is another way to earn participation credit, because like participating in an online class is something that's a little bit, you know, weird as well. But anyways, I'll detail that a little bit later. Um, and also another thing I wanted to encourage you guys while I have you all here is you can actually make your own Zoom meetings with your classmates too. Because sometimes it like forming a study group or working on homework or something, that's something where if we're actually in school together, you could, you know, it's a lot easier to just meet up with your friend or something. So, you know, you can make your own Zoom sessions and do that, or you don't have to necessarily use Zoom. But um, what I'll also do is in the discussion board on Canvas, there's a option for you guys to paste your own, you know, Zoom links in there if you want to invite other students to, you know, have your own sessions. But basically, there's a lot of options. And since it's online, I'm kind of try to be very flexible with when you can study and meet. But basically, anyways, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'll always be around. And obviously, you don't necessarily have to work in those time frames. Um, so let's get to the schedule and the syllabus just for a minute. Um, and these are all things that are on Canvas. I want to walk through Canvas in just a minute as well. But I did my best to plan out the 5 weeks of this class. So I don't know if any of you have had a chance to look through this yet, but basically I've kind of broken it down to like what's the daily plan, what's going on. So like today, there's nothing really you need to worry about. I just want you to kind of familiarize yourself with the course and look into the materials and make sure you get what you need. But like, for example, for tomorrow, if you're like, well, I want to get started on class, what do I want to do? Basically, I've kind of had certain videos, you know, I've tried to set up a pace for, okay, start chapter 1 tomorrow, finish it Wednesday. And each of these should be organized to the same as the modules in Canvas. So it should be pretty easy to tell what my plan was. And there's usually something due each day as well. I'm trying to watch to see if anyone has questions or anything. I think we're good. Like for tomorrow, I want you guys to have registered for the online component of the course. I'll talk more about that soon. But my math lab is the online component where it's how you can access your textbook and do the homework and the online activities. And then, I have Zoom every Wednesday, Friday, as I said, and that's kind of the pacing. So you can see that what it says OA 1.1, that just stands for online activity. And basically with each lecture, there's like an associated problem set with a few problems that you can practice exactly what we covered in the video. It might not always be exactly perfect alignment with every single section, but um, if you're following along with the plan, it should work out. Also, in my math lab, there's a lot of other resources which you can use to help you get them figured out too. And our publisher has a lot of resources like videos and stuff also that I didn't make. But anyways, there are also the exams. We'll talk more about those. I'll post more in an announcement later, kind of about how those are going to work. But basically, next Friday there's the first exam. It's pretty fast, but in the next 2 weeks we'll be doing kind of the first chunk of class. Then this third and fourth week, getting through chapters 5 and 7. And the final is the last day, obviously, of the semester. But anyways, that should be hopefully fairly self-explanatory. And I'm going to do my best to stick to this as we go forward. And also, if you go into Canvas right now, like this second, and you try to go watch the videos, they're not there yet because I haven't had time to get them uploaded. But basically, they'll be there by tomorrow. And if you want to work ahead, that's fine. But sometimes the videos might not be available quite yet because I still am working on them. But they will always be available by that time. So if tomorrow when if you want to work on class, it'll be there. And that's kind of the goal. I'll try to get as far ahead as possible. But since class just ended for me a couple days ago, and I've had a bunch of grading, it's been hard to get ready for summer so quick. Which is weird. There wasn't a week off. I don't know if that was weird for any of you guys too. But let me also go through I'll go through the syllabus in a second. Sorry, I'm kind of like jumping around a lot, but I'm kind of used to doing this sort of first day in class, not online. So what you need to have and what materials that I want you to have. So basically, really, there's only one most important material, which is the access code. It sort of serves as the textbook for this course, but basically you have to pay for an online access code. Yes, exactly. It looks like Morgan has it right already. You can get that like a physical cutout. I think you can also just purchase access when you go to the link in Canvas, and it will connect to you that way too. And it runs usually somewhere like $80. I don't remember exactly if that's about right. But it might be cheaper. I don't know. That's what it
That's
used to be.
that's about how much I paid for it.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. And that's pretty much your only cost that you'll need to have. The physical textbook is optional. Let me grab it. It's right here. So it looks like this. It's for those of you who don't really like the online environment, might be a good thing to have. You can get it used, or if you get it new, sometimes it will come with the access code. But I would get on that soon if that's something you're interested in because shipping times and whatnot. But it's the same thing. When you purchase the access code, you can also get the ebook as well, which I'll show you once we go into Canvas here in a minute. And also a calculator. So and usually the main point of the calculator is for exams. It's a way that, because cell phones and stuff are not allowed on exams in a traditional environment. But since it's online, it's not going to be necessarily as important because you could potentially use your computer's calculator or something. But anyways, the calculator is usually required material, but if you don't have one, it's probably not going to be the end of the world in this particular case. And in my videos, you'll see I use this exact calculator, TI-84. And I'll like, for those of you who aren't really used to using calculators or not that good with it, I'll teach you how to use it as well in those videos. So if you want to try to have the same one as I do, just kind of like your basic high school calculator. Most high schools use this calculator, or they did in the past at least. I don't know. I haven't been in high school for a long time, so I don't know anymore. But anyways, so let's get into the syllabus and the the Canvas course, I just wanted to give you a few tips. Sorry, my headset has this awesome habit of turning itself off every once in a while. I don't know why it does this, and have not figured it out yet. But okay, so let me pull up the syllabus. Can you guys see that? Let's see. Okay, cool. Thanks. This is so weird for me. I don't. This is awkward. But basically, the syllabus is there. The syllabus is not really that helpful because it's a shared syllabus with all the other problem-solving classes, and I didn't really write it. Well, I did have to fix a lot of stuff for online, but it just outlines a lot of the stuff like grading distribution and stuff like that. Technically, our Wednesday class meets on. Sorry, the section 2 meets Wednesday and section 3 meets Friday. The times are really arbitrary, but I'm just kind of grouping. But I have 2 whole sections here, section 2 and section 3. I'm just grouping you all together. You're kind of all just in the same class, in my opinion. So you can come Wednesday or Friday, whatever. There's no like restriction on your section. But you can read through a lot of the point lump emissions and all the other stuff that they put on the general syllabus as well. The credit hour information, it kind of gives you an idea of the design for breakdown, and there's the philosophy and all this stuff. But I'm not going to read this to you guys, obviously, because you can read it yourself if you want to. But let's look at the grading distribution just for a second. So the exams are worth a pretty big portion of your grade. So that those, every couple weeks or something, that are going to be a pretty big determining factor of your grade. They'll be done through my math lab, but there will also be I will want you to upload your work too, because it's not just going to be graded directly from the online interface, because that's not always necessarily a good indicator to how well you understand the problems. And so, anyways, the tests are still a work in progress for the online format. So I'll get more into that later, but they will be a pretty big portion of the grade. The online stuff is worth about 13%. So those online activities, this is kind of like the participation in class, doing the homework is kind of broken up into this stuff, as well as there's 2 projects, which again I'll talk a little bit more about later once they're ready and closer to when they're assigned and due. And then participation in Zoom meetings. So this stuff will basically, you're going to get 2% just for coming today. So that's like free, cool, awesome. All of the ones are optional, and those will all feed into the participation grade, as well as posting in the discussion board. And there's not like a point system for, okay, you have to come to X number of classes to get these points. So I'm not trying to I don't want you to I'm not going to force you guys to post in discussion boards or force you guys to come to Zoom. It's all going to be kind of just do it when you want to or when you need to. And if you're doing it, you'll get credit. So hopefully it'll be pretty simple. Usual grading scale and everything else. And if you if you do have academic needs, please let me know if there's anything specific that is problematic with the online environment, and I'll do my best to see if I can fix that. Or we can always talk, separately and meet, outside of the normal enrolled Zoom session. And attendance is more of like an online thing. So if you're like, how do I attend? That's just sort of the part, like keeping up with the lecture in the OAs is sort of like attendance. So like kind of watching the videos, doing the associated math thing is kind of the design there. And anyways, I think that's about it on the syllabus. Let me pull up Canvas just for a second. So if you go into Canvas right now, it's really small. Let me see if I can make this bigger. It should look something like this. If you access it like from an iPad, it might look a little bit different. Let me, one second, I need to change this. Okay. If you, one second, let me get some water. So like the homepage, this is just sort of like a way to easily find things. There's just a little bit of random information about me on here as well. But basically, the easy way to figure out what's going on currently, like say we're in week one, you could, if you just click week one here, it should take you to the modules page, which will kind of have everything organized kind of in order. So like, you can see the course introduction, which is what we're doing right now. And then, tomorrow we've got the lecture videos from 1.1.1 to 1.3. And if you pull that up, currently it says there's no content because I need to finish that stuff today. But basically, all the videos and lectures, kind of like I was saying, will be on here. And then afterwards you can work on the associated online activities. So let's pull those up for a second just to sort of see what those look like. Um, but if you load them, it will then connect you to MyMathLab in our course. Unfortunately, it doesn't take you directly to the activity, but you can then click on it and basically work through a problem on the MyMathLab platform, which is like, it says the table below shows a preference schedule, blah, blah, blah. And this is something that, I'll kind of talk about a lot of these ideas in the video. So if you watch the videos first, it should give you, it should be pretty simple. I mean, some of them still might be a little different or might be not necessarily obvious what to do, but it'll familiarize you with each of these ideas. So anyways, that's kind of the idea there. And then basically, if you complete each of those three, the due dates are also in Canvas, and they should be in MyMathLab as well. So how do I get out of here? Well, anyways, all the due dates should be hopefully the same everywhere. It's possible that I messed up on some of them because there's a whole lot of these things. So just if you ever see any dates that seem off, I tried to line it up with the schedule. So hopefully it was all the same as this. But if not, just let me know and I'll fix it. If something's late, it's not the end of the world. Again, the dates are really just there to try to make sure you're on track with the class schedule. Excuse me. So anyways, then if you go back, each week is sort of separated that way. You can also find it if you click on modules, that all of the modules are there as well. So to get registered for the online homework, if you start by clicking on My Lab and Mastering, this should be how you get connected to the online thing, and that's where you use your access code. So at the end of this, after I stop talking forever, which is hopefully soon, but I'll try to get through everything important. Basically, you should have an option here to connect the course, and that's where you would either purchase your access code or enter it in. So the online quizzes, you can use your books and notes and stuff. The exams, I still need to figure out how that's going to work. So I'm not entirely sure. Usually our policy for exams is we let students use a page of notes for the test, but due to the lack of accountability, I'll work on that. So I'm not exactly sure what my rules will be for the online exams yet, but for the online activities and the quizzes, which are also in MyMathLab, yeah, everything's fair game. The late work policy is better late than never. So usually I'm pretty chill with late work. It might be marked down, most likely, but if it's like the first time it happens, I'm probably pretty chill about it. So there's not really necessarily a policy in place. That's just my philosophy. I'm kind of like better late than never. But again, I sometimes students will try to take advantage of that a little bit and get really far behind. So that's just why I'm kind of like saying, just do your best to keep up. If you do miss one, it's really easy because there's stuff every day, and you don't necessarily want to be working every single day of the week, which is why you can kind of pace yourself if you want. You don't necessarily have to follow this exactly, or do it, right in the morning. But anyways, late work is, better late than never. But basically, once you get set up, this will take you to the course home too, which is kind of just like the hub of MyMathLab, which is another fine way to access all of this stuff. But you should see something like this once you do register. Looks like a couple people already have. But anyways, on here, there's stuff like the e-text. Sorry, I know this is probably really small, but you can access the textbook, which there's also a link in Canvas, which should take you to here. And this will bring up the everything that you would have in the normal book. Let me try to focus myself up to see if there's anything that in Canvas that I was forgetting about. But basically, if you've never used an online book before, there's a lot of options like this AA button here, which does not stand for Alcoholic Anonymous, I don't think, is the button that can like make it bigger or smaller because it's kind of hard to see sometimes. And if you do this on on an iPad, it's actually not that bad to use the book, and it currently doesn't look like anything because I'm on a blank page apparently, but it's fine if you're using an iPad. And really the book is there for if you're, kind of struggling or want a little bit more than the videos, or it's just an alternate resource, but a lot of students kind of don't really use the book and do okay. But everything that we're doing in class is going to be the same sections and the same content is from the book, so it's a good alternate resource. And there is assigned readings too, which is not graded, but to sort of keep on par with what we're doing in class. But there's going to be a lot of overlap. Anyways, let's go back to the home page and let me just see if there's anything else. So you can always access Zoom from the Zoom menu. Obviously, you guys are here, so you probably figured that out. But I want to just talk about the discussion board here for a second because I mentioned that a minute ago. But in the discussion board, basically what you can do is post your like homework questions, or if you want to post your own Zoom sessions or groups, or just communicate with other students. This is an easy way to do it. And you should just be able to reply to anything with whatever. And I mean, it's going to be up to you guys if you want to use this or if it's going to be useful. But basically, it's kind of like a forum for the class. And I'll try to look at this every once in a while too to see if there's questions. But obviously, you guys can answer each other's questions, or I can answer you guys' questions. And yeah, there's also a chat thing, just like there's a chat in Zoom. You can also just chat here. I don't know, whatever. There's a bunch of things that are available. Just thought I'd show you them. You don't have to use anything if you think it is not helpful to you. But okay, I think that's good enough for Canvas as well. So another thing I wanted to do is or we're going to wrap it up here. That's going to end my little segment on course information. Is just kind of get to know you guys a little bit, and have you guys get to know me just a bit. So usually what I do on the first day of class is I play a game called Two Truths, One Lie. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to break you guys down into groups, and I'm just going to try it out and see how it works, because there is a group project which is not assigned yet, but will be assigned in about a week or two. And so, just because what's weird about online classes is how do I form a group? How do I do a group project if I don't really know anyone in class, or if I haven't met anybody? So that's kind of what I'm going to try to do here. But basically, just play a game. It's a little fact knowing game where basically you're going to share with your group 3 facts about yourself. But as the name of the game suggests, what you can do is invent a lie about yourself. That and weave that into your Two Truths, One Lie. And basically as you're sharing, your group will then get to know you guys a little bit, because they'll get to know some of the facts about yourself, but also be able to sort of try to judge you a little bit and see, okay, which of these 3 things is a lie and which is true. So let's start with my Two Truths, One Lie, just to practice kind of knowing the game. So basically I present to you guys my three facts, and you try to figure out which one of these is not a fact. And I know a few of you guys have had me in class before, and so this is very repetitive. But so I'll just share my facts, and then, well, usually I would ask you guys, what do you think is the lie? And I guess you can post in the Zoom chat, or I don't know. Usually I'd say raise your hand. So this is really awkward to how to ask you guys these things. But so first fact is I have 5 nieces and nephews. Second fact, I forgot how to ride a bike. And the third fact is I've bowled 13 perfect 300 games in bowling. And so now, I guess if you want to post in the Zoom chat, your guesses, this is kind of how we play the game. And when I send you guys into breakout rooms, you can actually it'll be like groups of 4 people, so it'll be easier. You can actually talk, like as opposed to a group of 40 where it's kind of hard to have you all respond. But does anyone have any guesses as to which is the lie? So sorry, I don't know if I explained that very well, but okay. I'm getting some 2s, so you guys think I did not forget how to ride a bike. That I appreciate the confidence in my ability to be a regular person. Okay, we got some 1s, some 3s. Okay, cool. So that looks like a lot of 2s and 3s. Let's go ahead and so number 1 was a lie. I do not have 5 nieces and nephews. I only have 1 niece and nephew. So this is a little bit of a tutorial about how to play the game. You can make your truths like all like kind of like sort of true, like change the numbers. Like I have 3 dogs, you could say I have 4 dogs, and that way it's a little harder to know. And if you're playing with your actual friends, that can be kind of a way to really quiz them on how well they know you. But you know, in this case, it's going to be random groups, so I don't know. You probably most likely won't know the people in your group. I don't know. PLNU is a small community, so I could be wrong. But anyways, I did forget how to ride a bike. Well, I didn't exactly forget how to ride a bike, but uh, I learned how to ride a bike when I was like a 10-year-old, and I was a small kid. And now I'm 6'4", and I tried to ride a bike again, and it was just really, really awkward and painful. But I still could sort of ride it, but it was an embarrassing experience that I thought I would share with you guys, just to get to know me a little bit. And also, I do like, I bowl a lot. Well, actually, I'm not bowling right now, obviously, because everything's closed. But I am a bowler. I like sports and stuff in general. But I'm gonna go ahead and try to break you up into groups and have you guys play the game now with each other. And also, just as another goal before I kind of let you go on that, um, uh, once you're finished, you can leave. So I would usually do some other stuff, but I think this has gone on long enough. But basically, what I want you to try to get to know your group a little bit. Try to learn some names and get some contact info. That way, once the group project comes around, you can just use the same people for your group project if you want, or you can form your own. Hopefully, it will make the group element a little bit easier as you begin. So let me see if I can figure out how to do breakout rooms really quick. Welcome to class. That might be about it for me. I'll still be here once you guys finish if you want to pop back in and ask me questions, or if you want to get MyLab and mastering set up. That's another thing I wanted to make sure you guys were good with today. So after you finish your breakout rooms, you can try to get registered to my math lab, and I'll be here till 11 as well. If you have questions with that. But let me set up the breakout rooms. Again, let me see if I can do this. So, okay, I'm gonna do automatically 4 people per room. What is happening? Okay, just give me 1 second because I've never done this with this many people. Edit. Is this giving you the option to join these rooms?
Yeah, we just got it, I think.
Okay. And I'm gonna move you around a little bit because there are too many people